Welcome to A Million and One Things.
Girls, get it together. You have a show to do.
Because it's cool to know stuff. Let's get started. Welcome to our show, A Million and One Things, because it is cool to know stuff. We are sponsored by Quirky Minds Media, which is your full-service media production company. Check us out at quirkymindsmedia.com and see what we can do for you. I'm Temple Kinyon, and my co-host is here again with me. Yay, you keep coming back. And her name is Cynthia DeBoer. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey, Temple.
How are you today?
I'm doing good, and we're going to have a fun show today.
Well, I hope so. We're going to let you know, listeners know all about us.
Yeah. You're going to be fascinated or bored out of your tree, so we don't know which one.
Fascinated.
Fascinated
We'll
is
laugh,
what we're going for.
We'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll bond.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
So what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about the jobs we've had.
That's right, baby.
So it's been an interesting life, and somebody once told me that no matter what you do, one job always leads to another, or you end up finding out maybe 3 jobs down the line what this little hint that you got way back when you were a high school kid or something has really helped you. And again, we've talked about a show that we had, which was called The Roles We Play. Mm-hmm. And we did discuss the jobs that we've had, because that does go a lot into making who we are today.
Yes.
And this kind of is a follow-up of that, and just to kind of give you an idea of how a work experience can affect your entire life.
Right. And I've had several jobs, and I got kind of harassed about that at some point in my life. Oh, every 2 years you switch jobs. But I always looked at it that the current job was getting me more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Prepared?
Prepared or educated, or, it was like a stepping stone. I was going up in life in my mind, and I did get better and better jobs. And you're exactly right. Yeah. Every job I've ever had, I could refer back to a previous job and go, thank God I knew of that and learned that from that previous job.
Exactly. And a lot of it even has to do with how you work with coworkers, how you work with other employees, learning what to say, what not to say, getting your filter built in a little bit better, because a lot of time when you're at home, you can just say whatever and people are going to love you no matter what. If you spout off to the wrong person when you're at work, it could be a bad situation. Yeah. So there's a lot to learn from this. So there really is.
What was your first job? I know it, but they don't know it. So you share.
Well, I grew up a carpenter's daughter, and my first job was when I was 12 years old. I would go out with my dad and I would help him, because my dad is a wonderful guy, and he would work so much that I enjoyed going out with him to spend time with him. And so I would go out on the job site, and literally way back then, I was the first woman on the job site that wasn't somebody that was prepping a home to be sold or ready to have the buyers come look at it.
I love that.
Yeah, it was fun.
And everything you've learned, we have actually used a lot of it here in the studio, because when you've got to make that for shows and podcasts and movies, you know how to make walls, and you know how to get the right door hinges. I mean, you just know a lot of cool stuff. So it's been fun.
I love it. And I've always loved being that, and literally did carpentry work throughout my life. And I've always loved it.
It's part of you now.
Yeah, I think the sawdust is probably what's holding me together. Seriously.
And that good wood glue.
Exactly. Elmer's wood glue.
Everyone knows it makes a difference. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So my first employer was my dad and my mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad and mom farm in northern Idaho. They're wheat, barley, peas, lentils, canola, rapeseed, that kind of stuff. And so every kid that grew up on a farm probably understands that at some point you have to do farm work beyond the regular chores of being a kid.
Right.
So I was the gopher, the parts runner, and then I did a lot of the stuff around the house because my mom drove truck. So I learned how to do laundry and clean the house and do some outside work. Although mom was really amazing, she always seemed to manage the garden. I don't know how she did it. I should have paid closer attention, but she usually managed the garden. I didn't have to pick peas or beans or raspberries very often, but I did. If she needed help, I did it. And she would sort of prep for the meal that night. I had to get it cooked and ready for them when they came in, which was usually late, like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I always remember mom saying, it was always good. It was hot.
There you go.
But I did learn some good skills. I was the manager of the house while Mom was driving truck. And I'm thankful for that upbringing. And my mom and dad were so patient with me because I was a high school kid. A lot of my other friends were on break. Like they'd babysit during the day, but they could go swimming or they could go to a movie on a Wednesday night or something. And I would ask, and sometimes they'd say yes. And I'm very fortunate that I did get to have some freedom and fun at the same time. But Dad taught me how to respect coworkers and how to get up in the morning and get going and get up and show up kind of thing. So kind of sounds a lot like your experience with your dad.
Oh, yeah. My dad has always been an awesome teacher, and he would show you, this is the way I do it, but if you can figure out a way that works better for you, do that.
Right.
And
so
that's a big thing because it wasn't somebody that was quote unquote micromanaging you.
Yeah.
But he wasn't easy on us as far as anything. I mean, we had this saying, it was kind of a joke, but it was also serious because when you're working around power tools, things happen and you would get cut or something like that. And the saying was, well, if it's not cut off, keep working kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you didn't just stop because you had a little boo-boo on your finger.
No.
You kept going.
Is it bleeding? Yes. Go get a Band-Aid.
Exactly. And for us, if you didn't have a Band-Aid, duct tape always worked well.
Oh, duct tape and baling twine back in the day. That fixed everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. And then when I was 13, I was very stubborn and headstrong, and I wanted to earn my own money.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad wasn't at a point where he needed help. So I passed for 16 and I got a job working for a cleaning company. And we actually went in the evenings and we cleaned the offices.
Oh, neat.
And again, it wasn't anything new to me because as we grew up, it was the same thing. We learned how to cook, sew, clean, vacuum, wash windows, literally take care of a home.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that, oh my gosh, you poor thing, you've had to do all these chores. To us, yeah, we got a little bit of an allowance, which was cool because, again, then it taught us to save. And 50% of what you earned would go into your little piggy bank, and the other 50% you could save for something that you really wanted.
Yep.
And again, it taught us how to be responsible.
Yeah.
And that job, of course, cleaning toilets and picking up trash and all that, it's not exactly the most glamorous thing, but it wasn't anything new to me.
It's hard work.
It was hard work, and the office building was incredibly large. So we each had like a section to do. It was 4 stories tall. And so I did this section on this floor and that section on that floor and this kind of thing. It was definitely a learning experience. And I really liked it. I really did. I learned a lot. And it was working with people. It was organizing who was going to do what.
You brought up something. My dad did pay us wages, us kids, and we had a savings account, and we would put our money in the savings account. And at the end of the summer, when school kind of came around, then we had money to go buy our school clothes.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal because you felt really good that you'd earned that money, even if it was from your dad. I'm sure I got paid really good wages for what I was doing, but I hope they're listening and they can tell me one way or another, but I hope I served a purpose. I always felt like I earned the money, but I could have always done more. But when I was in high school and junior high, I also babysat, so that was kind of a nice little revenue stream. And I had great families that I babysat for. Loved that. And then I also, when I was a senior in high school, I was a page at the Idaho State Legislature for 5 weeks, and that was a paid job. And that was a blast. I could do a whole show on that. Lived in Boise on campus at Boise State University, which anybody who knows me knows that was a really tough thing because I'm an Idaho vandal. But we would walk to the Capitol and we would do our work, and it was a really good learning experience being away from my family, and it was an actual 8 to 5 job.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then we had to do our classwork after, or sometimes we could do it when we were at the Capitol in the page cage is what we called it because we were pages. And my other job when I was a junior and senior in high school, wait for it, I was a fragrance model at the Bon Marché. Yes, indeed.
Oh my gosh.
I was that person that was like, would you like me to spray you with some perfume or some cologne? And people would run away from me. But it was a great job because they paid you cash at the end of every day.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was like at least $10 an hour. Sometimes it was $15 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was back in the olden times. That was big money. So
definitely.
Yep.
So since you brought up cologne and perfume, here's a question for you. Did you know the main difference between cologne and perfume is whether or not its base is oil or water?
I did know that.
Yay.
But I'm glad you brought it up. So
So
can
if it's
test
a
my knowledge.
perfume, it's oil-based and it lasts longer and it's usually stronger. And if it's water-based, it's considered a cologne, or what do they call it? Toilet water was
Yeah.
one of the names for it, which I thought that was kind of weird, but to each his own. Yeah, I'm going to go spray some toilet water on me. Okay,
Yeah.
well, just flush the toilet so you're safe. But, sounded kind of weird to me. But
It is weird.
yeah. So, like I said, throughout my life, off and on, depending on what jobs we had or what was going on, of course, I did the construction. But then I also worked at a small hospital, and I was the person that took care of the answering board. So I kind of felt like plug this in and plug that in whenever somebody would call and take
Cool.
messages for doctors and that kind of thing. And then I did that because the gal that had that job was going on vacation. And then I ended up transitioning from that into billing insurance.
Yeah.
So Medicare and any of the other ones that were out there, I think Blue Cross Blue Shield was a big one at that point in time. So I learned how to bill insurance, and my comptroller of the hospital was a sweetheart, and I just loved him. His name was Charles Cobb, and I haven't been in touch, so I don't know if he's still around or not. But he was one of these guys that he was so focused on not only making this hospital a success, but caring for the employees, and I just love that about him.
Yeah, you definitely can go through, I suppose everybody can, the list of jobs you've had, and there's certain bosses that stand out,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, as
He was
good or
one.
bad.
Oh, yeah,
But
definitely.
I mean, stand out in a positive way. How old were you when you worked at the hospital?
Oh, I
Were
was
you in
like
hi-
20.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
post high school.
Oh, yeah. Because all through high school, it was working with my dad on the weekends. Or, like I said, I had that one little
Yeah.
job for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And that was about it till they found out how old I was. And then that kind of killed that. But
That legality thing.
yeah, that legality. And I think a lot of that people don't understand it. I mean, growing up on a farm, that's part of your life. But for me, I was a sick kid and there was a lot of expenses that went along with that. And so from any time that I could work to earn my own money, because I knew it wasn't my fault, but that doesn't matter in your mind. You
Still
want
wanna-
to contribute for all of the quote unquote pain and suffering and all of that your family went through.
Yeah.
And so that was always a big thing for me.
Aw,
And I
yeah.
was a receptionist in a real estate company after that. And I managed a health club. I actually even became a realtor for a short amount of
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you said you were a switchboard operator for the
Yeah.
hospital after high school and outside of working for my family. I was an office assistant at Parking and Information on the University of Idaho campus. Go Vandals. And so I assisted the secretary there. That office issued tickets for people who were illegally parked on campus or didn't have a permit, so we had to process those. And I think I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And it was a great job. I loved it. It was so fun working on campus. Just as a college kid, it was just my whole life was there. My life was either work or school, and it was all at the University of Idaho, which I absolutely have that silver and gold running through my veins. I love that place. And as soon as I got to be a sophomore, there was a person that came into one of my advertising classes. I was an advertising major, and they said, we need an assistant newsletter. And thank God it was still on campus because
Oh,
that was
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I went to be an assistant newsletter editor for the physical plant at the time, and they took care of like the HVAC and the grounds and the electrical and construction and all that kind of stuff on campus. And they put out a monthly newsletter and then an annual report just to communicate what they were doing on campus. So I helped with the newsletter and anything else, and that was such a fun job, just a great job. And I learned how to interview people, write, use PageMaker so I could format the newsletter. There was so many learning experiences. Plus, I worked full-time in the summer and covered front desk when people were on vacation.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
that was a great job, and I had that until I graduated from college, and then I merged over to university events, which was just that. We did events, which was fun. And then I decided I wanted to break out of the university, which I know that was a dumb move, but I went to work for a construction company.
Ah.
And the construction company, the owner of that was the owner of the new, at the time, Holiday Inn Express in Pullman, Washington.
So it was a general contractor then. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and he and his wife were the owner of the hotel, and the hotel was
Oh,
being
wow.
built. So then I was the front desk person for the hotel temporarily, and when they were like, do you want to come work at the hotel? I was like, yes, I do. This is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I ended up working at a hotel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to jump ahead just a minute to talk about what we're doing right now, because we have this wonderful, wonderful project that we're both involved in, and it is 1 million books in 100 days, and it was developed by James Kelly. We're in our third campaign. We do this twice a year, and basically it's a place for indie authors, which Temple and I are, to showcase our work on a smaller platform than some of the larger ones that are out there. The royalty that we receive is a bit larger than, again, what you would get at other distribution outlets. But the big thing on this is that $1 from every book sale goes to help charity.
Yeah, if you are listening right now, go out to 1millionbooks.in100days.com and buy some books.
Exactly.
Every author on there, I have read almost all the books, or at least know of the books, and I know the authors, and it is an amazing group of people with talent in all these different genres, from little kids all the way up to any age. You can find a book, and every book there's $1 towards charity, hopefully raising a lot of money. I mean, this is just the best program.
It really is.
So go out and get some books.
Yes. And again, too, if you want to get involved with this, like we hope that you do, you can email us, let us know about your experience, let us know if you really liked a book, give a review.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, folks, getting reviews for something that you've put blood, sweat, and tears into is oftentimes really hard, and everybody wants to know, well, how do I give a review? It's really simple. Just write 2 or 3 lines, 2 or 3 sentences. That's all anybody ever asks, that says what surprised you, what you liked, if you were looking forward to the next book, if it happened to be a series. Most people will sit there and tell you about the last movie that they've watched, and they'll give you all kinds of stuff, but when you ask about a book, it's like deer in headlights. Nobody knows what to say.
Yeah, and if you email us that, we can share with the authors. We can put it out on some of our other website venues so that the authors get even more attention, and you can be a part of it then. This is a challenge to every reader or everybody that gives books as gifts. You get this wonderful book in your hand. You got the feeling of helping a charity and helping this indie author, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So share with us so that we can make you a part of the entire program.
Yeah, I think that it's really important, and I hope you all do that. So my next thing, I was kind of hopping around a lot because it was just one of those climates where we were moving. We did a lot of this, we did a lot of that, and I actually was an accountant for an auto parts store. I also, during that brief couple of years, I actually handled a hotel desk at night, and during the day, I was the maid. So I had 15 minutes to go through and clean the room and go to the next one and all of that kind of thing. And so again, learning a lot about how to handle gracious customers and some that were not so gracious, and how to appease and make sure that everybody's happy and having a good experience. When you're on vacation, it's really important that the people that you meet at hotels and different restaurants, they greet you with a smile, and they're always open to suggestions. And that, I think, was really, really important, because I did want everyone to have a good time. I mean, we live in Las Vegas, and this hotel was up in Boulder City, which is right by the Hoover Dam. It was a little bitty place, but it's just amazing at the end of the day or at the end of the shift when I would get someone that come up and said, you really helped make this a great time.
Yeah, I got the same feeling of accomplishment when you help someone check in and the room is clean.
Yeah.
And you make sure that their breakfast is hot, and if they need anything, you've got the answers. We had some issues at the hotels, like one time there was no water.
Oh, good God, that's horrible.
That was, oh gosh. And it was a Sunday after a football game weekend, and so we were packed, and we handled it, and it was wild for about half an hour, but we got it handled. And a lot of those people came back down from their rooms and were like, thank you for making sure you took care of us.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't have been, I mean, it was a Sunday morning. Our maintenance person was not on property. Anyway, it's a fun industry to work in.
Yeah,
so
it really is.
And I think it's funny that we have some parallels, because I worked in a real estate office too. I think that's so weird. We've had similar jobs. I didn't know this, folks, about her.
No, we didn't.
We didn't tell each other ahead of time.
anything.
Yeah, so I worked at a real estate office, and I was the office manager and secretary, and then I also got to help do some marketing for the agents. Like, there's the parade of homes in the newspaper and the ads in the newspaper, and it was a lot of fun. I learned so much and met so many great people, and it really did set me up to go to the next job, which was really, at the time, it was my dream job. I got to work at the alumni office at the University of Idaho, back on campus.
Back on campus. There we go.
Yeah, so the alumni office is just just a magical place. And we would work in conjunction with just about anybody on campus to try and have programming for alumni. I worked off-campus events, so anywhere there was alumni congregated, we had a chapter and we had chapter events, and I helped coordinate those, all sorts of fun stuff. And it was cool because we were considered the friend raisers, and then the development office was the fundraisers. Yeah, we worked in coordination with colleges and fundraising and all the other people to make alumni have that wonderful experience and educate them on what's going on campus, even though they maybe have been off campus for 20 years. That was such a fun job. That's where I had probably my best boss. Yeah, Harold. He was amazing. Well, Harold was there, but before him it was Wayne, and before him it was Flip. So all three of those guys were just the best bosses. What a wonderful place to work. I loved it. And then I worked in marketing for maybe a year, and then we moved to Vegas. So no more University of Idaho job.
No more university.
No.
Yeah. Well, I went from doing all of that with the hotel desk, and then I ended up being a manager of a gift shop.
Oh, cool.
And I love that. That was a lot of fun. It was really great when someone came in, and it was usually a man, and not to be mean or anything, but sometimes they just don't know. They want to get something, but they're not sure of what's appropriate, that kind of thing, depending on where they're at in a relationship and all of that. And it was really great to come in because they'd say, I don't know what to get. And so obviously the questions would be, what's her favorite color? Does she like candles? Is she a rock hound? Does she like different kinds of rocks? Because that's what we sold. It was called Kinyon Lands, and we sold a lot of minerals. We sold all kinds of dream catchers, and we had glass cactuses and all kinds of fun stuff. And it was really great when people would come back and say, that was the perfect gift.
Oh, cool.
And it really made me happy that we were able to do that. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time in my life I ever had to fire someone.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
That's uncomfortable.
Well, yes and no. It was deserved.
Helpful sometimes.
Yes, it was very helpful. We tried to be very fair, and we would give somebody like 3 warnings on whatever it was that they were doing. And of course, they would sign it, and we would have a talk about it. And it was a gentle talk. Hey, maybe you could have handled this a little bit differently. This part was good, but this is definitely a no-no. And do that kiss, kick, kiss method where you kind of sandwich the thing. And after 3 times, this person, it was just not getting through and rude to customers. That was the main complaint. And when I told this person that he was no longer working for the company, he said, so does that mean I'm not on the schedule next week?
Think?
Anyway, didn't really hurt that much. I mean, I didn't like letting anybody go. Don't get me wrong.
No, but sometimes you have to.
After somebody has pounded something into your head 3 times, I think you should understand that.
Been there.
And so I did that. And I really liked it. Then I was a receptionist at a general contractor, and I wanted to go into the millworks. And for those that don't know, that means the wood area. And I wanted to basically be the one that did all the estimating. How many doors do you need? How many are 3 O's, 2 O's, that kind of thing. And that didn't happen. So at that point, I ended up going up to a company, which was an appraisal and home inspection company. And I managed that. There were 7 appraisals and 2 home inspectors. And I love that. Stan Wolf was the owner of it, and I loved him. He was gruff and goofy and fun, and you never knew which direction he was going to go. And it was a lot of fun dealing with somebody like that. So I did have to learn a little more patience with that job, but it was very well worth it. I loved it.
That's always a good education. And it's a constant education through your whole life, is keeping your cool and your patience. The best advice I ever got, this is sort of an aside, is when I went to work for the Holiday Inn, I said, geez, thanks for offering me the job, but I have no experience in the hospitality industry. And the general manager, Michelle, at the time, who was just loved her. She was such a ball of energy. She said, you know what, Temple? I can teach you anything. I can teach you the reservation system, the PBX, how the hotel runs, how to work with all the different departments. I can teach you everything. I can't teach you how to be nice to people.
There you go.
Yeah. So I always remembered that. You need to leave a lasting positive impression on anybody that you work with, because you never know when it's going to come around again. And it does. If you work in an area, even Las Vegas is huge, but really it's not that big. And people know everybody. There's people in every industry that know other people in other industries, and the world gets pretty small. So keeping your cool, being nice, being professional, those are always things that I'm constantly reminding myself. Keep your tongue in check. If you're mad, walk away and deal with it when you're not, that kind of stuff.
Right. Because usually any decision you make when you're angry or upset is going to be a wrong decision, or you would have found a nicer, gentler way to handle it, or perhaps another option that would have made everybody happy.
Yeah.
But it's that taking that break, taking that step back. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. So before I got to my day job now, I worked at a scrapbook store. This is when we moved to Vegas. So the scrapbook store was just for fun, for a little extra cash until I got settled.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband brought us down here. He's a paper maker. So I was a paper maker's wife.
There you go.
I still am, thank God. And then I worked at UNLV as event manager for the president. And that was a great job. It was such a great learning experience. I met some of the most wonderful, talented people, but I hit a wall. I got burnt out. And that was no one's fault. And it's just where I was mentally. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I scrimped and I saved, and my husband and I made a game plan. And, there's times I look back and think I wish I wouldn't have left that job because it was a great job. There's so many wonderful people at the UNLV campus, and I worked with a lot of them. But, when you finally realize that you need to make a change in your life, it's a really scary thing, but you need to jump in and do it and stay true to yourself. So I actually went to Starbucks to work as a shift supervisor and a barista, so that I had money. And again, I didn't have any idea. I'd never worked in the food industry ever. Wow, what an eye-opening experience that was. And I could do, again, another show on working at Starbucks because the people that we encountered, wow, good, bad, ugly, all of it. But it was a fun job, and I had a great crew. So if any of my former baristas out there are listening, you made it so fun. It was a really fun job. Then I was a nanny for a while. Then I worked in corporate housing for a while for utility hookups. Then I was like, you know what? I need to get to my goal. And that was to become a writer.
There you go. Well, that was something just like with the construction industry. I wrote my whole entire life. And in 2013, I started a story blog, and then I would invite other authors to put their stories on.
Is that still out there, by the way?
It is still out there. It's on my website.
Okay.
The stories, though, in there, I am considering putting into a book.
Oh,
because I think that would be a lot of fun. And so anyway, through that, I did all of that. After that, managing the appraisal company, the people that own the company got divorced, and so everything was downsized. So I had to figure out what to do next. So I became the owner and operator of Harmony Organizational Consulting and Cleaning. And I loved that. It was a great company. Well, at that point, my eyesight went down and I found some other issues that I had. So kind of had to step back for a while due to health. But through all of it, I wrote. And then I managed a Curves even for women.
Cool. Yeah.
No makeup, no men, no mirrors was their thing. And it was great because with my vision, there was enough differences in the color of things that I was okay to help out there. And I used a really big yellow measuring tape to measure my clients and all of that. And
that's cool.
That was kind of neat. And then we kind of moved and things kind of changed around. And then that's when I really dove into being an author and a writer and ended up becoming somewhat of a disability advocate. And I've loved it. And then you and I teamed up.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we became executive producers.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that's our title.
And we work with a wonderful man who's our station manager, James Kelly, who owns and operates Quirky Minds Media, which Temple told you about. And we are on air through AARN, which is All Aspects Radio Network. So we teamed up and we decided to do this together just to have fun, get our feet wet, and just enlighten the world.
Yeah, we're learning a lot as we go, and we thank you for continuing to listen to our show. When I listened to our first shows and now, there is a difference.
Definitely.
And I hope people who have listened from the beginning are still listening because we're getting better at what we do, but you're learning right along with us, and we appreciate your patience. So I think it's an interesting for us to look back and see all the jobs that we've had, how it got us here.
Right.
And how every little thing you learn can be applied, like you said at the beginning of the show, even decades down the road.
Yep.
Every lesson, mistake, or thing that you think is a mistake is really a lesson. And so if you're going to take away from from anything. For me, I want you to be proud of what you're doing. If you're working, whether it's in the home as the domestic engineer or as a parent, because that's the hardest job I've heard is in the world. And I think it is. But you need to be proud of what you're doing. And if you feel like you're needing a change or you're stuck, go ahead and make a game plan and muster up your courage and do it, because both Cynthia and I were able to do that. Mm-hmm. It's really scary. Financially, it was very scary for me.
Oh, but yeah, definitely.
We planned and we got it figured out, and we're doing without some things. And that's okay, because now I'm happy, and things tend to all get better when one aspect of your life is better that wasn't.
Right. Because a lot of people say, well, work is a 4-letter word to me. I can't stand it. It's something that I have to do. And honestly, if you have to hopscotch around from this job to that job to quote unquote find your career, which is something that you would want to do forever and a day, then that's fine too, because all of those things are learning experiences and they will get you to the next thing.
And it's okay to work to live instead of live to work.
Yeah.
We all strive for the live to work, but by the same token, if you're just going in, doing a great job at whatever your vocation is, and you walk out the door and you put it to bed for the day or the night and you live your life, that is an amazing thing too.
Oh, yeah.
I think you just have to be happy with yourself, and you're the only person that can decide that. And I always looked at myself in the mirror every day and said, is what I'm doing important to someone? Does it matter? Because I never wanted to do something that didn't help someone or provide a service for someone. And I think I did okay through the years. I don't know if we're necessarily providing a service doing this show, but hopefully, maybe you're working out on your treadmill like my friend Scott and you're listening to our show, or you got it on and you're driving to your job listening to us. So we hope that we've given you a little bit of inspiration to just pursue your happiness.
Well, and the other side of that too is that a lot of people say, oh, I didn't get the job. Well, on interviews like that, I understand that you are being interviewed, but you need to flip that in your mind too and say, is this job right for me?
Right.
And I had a very negative experience one time, and the guy was very demanding, and I just kind of said, you know what, just like Temple just said, look, I am working to have a better life. I am not living to work. And I said, thank you for seeing me today. I'm out of here. And I left because it wasn't the right thing for me. And I think that's also the other side of it. And I'm not saying that I haven't taken jobs that I did not really want.
Oh, we all have.
Because I needed the cash.
Right. You got to pay the bills.
Single mom here, you had to make some money. But at the same time, it wasn't something that I knew it was a job. I knew it was getting me from point A to C. And this was B. And I just had to do this for a while to get to the next step. So.
And focus on what does bring you happiness when you're in that situation. I've had jobs where I would leave at lunch for my lunch hour, cry, eat, put myself back together, and then go work the other 4 hours of the day. Then I'd get home, cry, eat, go to bed. I mean, I really have had jobs like that. And they definitely are definite character builders. And I know you have too. And, and no matter what job you have, even if it's the best job, and it's not even a job, it's a career, it's a lifestyle, it's something you totally believe in doing, like what we're doing today. Sometimes there's frustrations and drama, but hopefully you learn how to deal with that stuff so it doesn't overshadow the fun or the job.
Well, it's just like anybody says, if 75% of my job is okay and I've got to deal with 25%, well, you know what? You're pretty damn lucky, because that happens. I don't care what you are. You're not smiling 24 hours a day, even when you're off work. You have things that you have to do. You might have to do your laundry or whatever. And maybe that's not the funnest thing in the world for you. So again, it's figuring all that stuff out and just really enjoying it. And one thing, if you do want a career, what I would say is shadow somebody for a while, because what you learn in school and what actually happens in the real world are oftentimes miles apart.
Yeah, you have your expectations set one way and reality is another. If anybody wants to do a podcast, come on in.
Yeah,
we'll show you how to do it.
That's for sure.
So we should probably wrap up. We could talk for a long time. We just hope we've offered some inspiration to those of you out there listening that are in a great job or in a not so fabulous job, or maybe you're doing volunteer work or working at home. Whatever you do, make it worth it.
Exactly. So you've been listening to our show, 1,000,001 Things, and you can check us out at 1,000,001things.com. And there you can listen to all of our shows. We have a player on our page, and it's really cool to go back and check it out. And they're all titled, so you can figure out what you want to listen to. And you can email us if you have any questions or have any suggestions, and that's 1,000,001thingsshow@gmail.com. And let us know what you think, and if there's something you would like to discuss discuss because, as we say, 1,000,001 things because it's cool to know stuff. Bye for now.
See you next time.
Join us next time when we come up with something new.
After all, there's always 1,000,001 things to talk about.